The message came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. At first, the radio operators at SETI thought it was another false signal, like the hundreds they received every month. But this one was different. It pulsed with a pattern too perfect to be natural, too complex to be random, and too powerful to be from Earth. The signal repeated every 12 minutes, growing stronger with each cycle. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth had confirmed it. Humanity was receiving its first alien transmission. Captain James Walker stood in the newly formed Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the massive screens display the decoded message. His weathered face reflected the blue glow of the monitors as teams of scientists and military personnel rushed around him. After 20 years in Space Force Command, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. The main screen flickered, and the translated message appeared once more. "To the species of Sol 3, designation humans. Your rapid technological advancement and space exploration activities have been noted. Cease all operations beyond your atmosphere immediately. This is your only warning. The galaxy operates under strict guidelines. Your kind is too unpredictable, too volatile for integration. Return to your planet's surface. Any attempt to establish colonies or continue space exploration will be met with immediate consequences. You have been warned." Walker rubbed his chin, studying the message that had thrown Earth's governments into chaos. The United Nations Security Council had been in emergency session for the past 18 hours. Space programs worldwide were debating whether to ground their missions. Fear spread through social media like wildfire. But Walker saw something different in the message. He saw fear, not humanity's fear, but the aliens' fear. Why would an advanced civilization be so threatened by a species that had barely reached its own moon? In the adjacent room, Dr. Anna Miller, the lead xenolinguist, was analyzing every nuance of the transmission. Her team had been working nonstop since the message arrived. "Captain," she called out, "you need to see this." Walker moved to her station, where complex patterns danced across multiple screens. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "The message isn't just a warning," she explained, pointing to various data points. "It's broadcasted on multiple frequencies, using different encoding methods. They wanted to make absolutely sure we could understand it. But here's the interesting part. The transmission contains traces of their communications technology. They're so advanced that they don't even try to hide it. It's like they're showing off." Walker leaned closer, his military training kicking in. In any confrontation, understanding your opponent's psychology was as important as knowing their capabilities. "They're trying to intimidate us," he said, "but they're also revealing their hand." The next few days saw humanity's spirit tested. Some called for immediate compliance with the alien demands. Others pushed for aggressive military development. The space industry, which had been booming with private companies planning Mars colonies and asteroid mining operations, faced a crisis of confidence. But in labs and bases around the world, something unexpected was happening. Human scientists, engineers, and military strategists were doing what humans did best: adapting, innovating, and refusing to back down. Walker found himself at the center of it all. As one of the most experienced space commanders, he was tasked with assessing humanity's options. In a secure underground facility, he met with a diverse team of experts from around the world. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours," Professor Robert Brown, a quantum physicist, explained to the gathered group. "But that might not be the disadvantage they think it is. Look at this." He displayed readings from the alien transmission. "Their entire communication system relies on principles we barely understand. But that's not weakness. It's opportunity." Walker watched as the professor explained how human technology, developing along different lines, might actually have unique advantages. "We're not bound by their conventions," Brown continued. "We can think outside their box because we never knew the box existed." The meeting was interrupted by urgent news. The International Space Station had detected multiple objects entering the solar system. They were massive, moving at incredible speeds and headed straight for Earth. "They're testing our resolve," Walker said, studying the trajectory data, "showing us they can reach us whenever they want." He turned to the assembled experts. "But they haven't attacked yet. They're waiting to see what we'll do." Earth's response came not from its military or governments, but from ordinary people. When news of the alien ultimatum went public, instead of panic, there was determination. Millions of people looked up at the stars and refused to be intimidated. Universities worldwide began sharing research openly, breaking down competitive barriers. Private space companies, instead of shutting down, accelerated their programs. A global network of civilian scientists started analyzing the alien transmission, finding patterns and possibilities that traditional military thinking might have missed. Walker stood in his office late one night, looking at the stars through his window. The alien ships had taken position just beyond Mars' orbit, a constant reminder of their presence. But Earth was changing. New satellites were being launched daily, each one built with technology that evolved from the lessons learned from the alien transmission. The phone on his desk rang, a direct line from the Security Council. "Captain Walker." The Secretary General's voice was tense but determined. "We've reached a decision. Humanity will not be confined to Earth. We're proceeding with the Mars colony launch as planned. We want you to command the mission." Walker smiled. It wasn't just defiance driving this decision. In the weeks since the alien message, humanity had made more technological progress than in the previous decade. Fear had turned to curiosity. Threats had sparked innovation. "Tell them I accept," he replied, already thinking about the challenges ahead. "But I have one condition. I want to broadcast our launch on all frequencies. Let them watch us rise." As he ended the call, Walker thought about how the aliens had fundamentally misunderstood humanity. They saw our unpredictability as a weakness, our diversity as a flaw. They didn't realize that these were the very things that made humans unstoppable. The first colony ship would launch in 1 month. It carried not just the hopes of humanity, but a message of its own, one written not in words, but in actions. Humanity would not be confined, would not be limited, would not be stopped. As dawn broke over the horizon, Walker watched the sun rise on a new era of human history. The aliens had meant to stop humanity's rise to the stars. Instead, they had given humanity something it had been missing: a unified purpose, a common goal, and a reason to show the galaxy exactly what humans could do when challenged. The real question wasn't whether humanity would reach the stars. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity would become. The destruction of the Mars colony happened without warning. One moment, the newly established base was sending routine status updates to Earth. The next, there was only silence. The orbital satellites caught the event in perfect clarity. A beam of light from the alien ships, and then the dome that had housed humanity's first off-world colony was gone. 312 people. That's how many lives were lost in what became known as the Mars Massacre. Captain Walker watched the footage for the 100th time in the underground command center, his hands clenched into fists. The aliens had made their point, but they had made a terrible mistake too. "They think this will break us," Walker said to the emergency council gathered around him. "They're wrong. This will unite us like nothing else could." He was right. Within hours of the attack, every nation on Earth had pledged their complete support to the Earth Defense Force. Old enemies became allies, rival corporations shared technology, and borders became meaningless in the face of a common threat. Dr. Miller rushed into the command center, clutching a tablet. Her team had been analyzing the energy signature from the alien weapon. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her eyes bright with discovery. "The debris from Mars. It's telling us something incredible." The screens lit up with analysis data. The alien weapon had left traces of their technology in the destruction, and these traces revealed something unexpected. Their entire weapons system, like their communications, relied on crystalline technology, complex structures that they had perfected over centuries. But here's the fascinating part, Dr. Miller explained. pointing to comparative data. Our quantum computers work differently. They think we're primitive because we don't use their crystal tech, but that's actually our advantage. We're not locked into their way of thinking. Professor Brown joined the briefing, adding his own findings. Their crystals are incredibly advanced, but they're also predictable. They've been using the same basic principles for so long, they never considered alternatives. We've been developing multiple technologies simultaneously: silicon, quantum, biological computing. We're not bound by their limitations. Walker understood the implications immediately. The aliens had revealed their primary weakness. They were too specialized, too dependent on a single technological path. Humanity's supposed primitive state meant they had kept exploring different options, different solutions. The next few weeks saw the greatest technological surge in human history. Every research facility on Earth worked around the clock, developing defenses that didn't rely on crystal technology. Traditional military tactics were thrown out the window as new strategies were developed based on humanity's unique advantages. In a secured facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Walker oversaw the development of Earth's first true defense system. Unlike the aliens' crystal-based weapons, these defenses used a mix of technologies: quantum shields, electromagnetic disruption fields, and good old-fashioned human ingenuity. "The aliens won't expect this," said Technical Director Robert Thompson, showing Walker the latest test results. "They'll be looking for crystal-based defenses, shields operating on their principles. Our systems will seem primitive to them until they try to break through." The aliens watched from orbit as humanity continued to launch satellites, each one carrying what appeared to be crude defensive systems. They didn't realize that each launch was a test, each satellite a different experiment in combining technologies they had never considered mixing. Walker's team made another breakthrough when they discovered that human AI systems, developed along completely different lines than alien tech, could interface with and disrupt crystal-based systems in ways the aliens had never protected against. It was like using stone tools to disable a computer. So primitive it worked. The Alien Council sent another message: "Your defiance is noted. The destruction of your Mars colony was merciful compared to what will come. Last warning: cease all space operations." But humanity had changed. The message was broadcast publicly, and instead of fear, it sparked determination. People looked at the night sky differently now, not with terror, but with resolve. The aliens had killed 312 humans, but they had awakened billions. In labs across the world, scientists who had once competed now worked together, sharing discoveries and building on each other's ideas. The aliens had unknowingly sparked a renaissance of human innovation, pushing development in directions they had never imagined. Walker stood in the new Mars Memorial, a massive underground chamber where the names of the lost colonists were carved into black stone. Each name represented not just a loss, but a reason to push forward. Families of the victims had been the first to volunteer for the new defense programs. "We're ready for the first major test," Dr. Miller reported, joining him at the memorial. "The combined shield system is in place. If they attack again, they'll find something very different waiting for them." The test came sooner than expected. The alien ships moved, positioning themselves for what they thought would be another easy demonstration of their power. This time, their target was the moon base, humanity's other foothold in space. But when their energy weapon fired, something unexpected happened. The beam hit a shield that shouldn't have been possible by their understanding of physics. The moon base remained intact, protected by layers of different technologies working in harmony. In the command center, Walker watched the aliens' confusion play out in real time. Their scans would show them defenses that made no sense by their standards: quantum fields working alongside electromagnetic barriers, AI systems adapting faster than their crystals could process. "Send them a message," Walker ordered. "Keep it simple." The transmission was brief. "We remember Mars. We learn. We adapt. We survive." The alien ships pulled back, retreating to a higher orbit. For the first time, they showed uncertainty. They had expected to find a primitive species that would cower at their power. Instead, they found humanity. Adaptable, innovative, and now united in a way they had never been before. Walker looked at the tactical display, showing Earth's growing network of defenses. The aliens had tried to stop humanity's rise to the stars with a show of force. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed, a reason to prove just how unstoppable the human spirit could be. The Mars massacre would be remembered not as the day humanity was broken, but as the day humanity proved it could not be broken. The stars were waiting, and now humanity was ready to show the galaxy that the most dangerous mistake was underestimating human potential. The alien council members watched in confusion as their latest scan results came in. The humans were developing technologies in ways that made no sense to them. While the council's species had spent millennia perfecting crystal-based technology, humans were simultaneously pursuing dozens of different technological paths. It was chaos, yet somehow it worked. In the Earth Defense Force headquarters, Captain Walker studied the intercepted alien communications. Their confusion was becoming obvious. Every time they thought they had figured out human technology, something new would emerge that completely baffled them. "Look at this," Dr. Miller said, pointing to a display showing alien scan attempts of Earth's newest defense systems. "They keep trying to analyze our technology using their crystal-based sensors. But our systems don't work like theirs. It's like they're trying to measure water with a ruler designed for crystals." The aliens' standardized approach to technology had become their greatest weakness. They had spent so long perfecting one path that they had forgotten how to think in other ways. Humanity, on the other hand, had never stopped exploring alternatives. Walker walked through the new research facility built inside Mount Baker. Different sections worked on different technologies. Quantum computing in one lab, biological interfaces in another, and artificial intelligence in a third. Each team approached problems differently, and the diversity of thought had become Earth's secret weapon. "The aliens expect us to follow their development path," Professor Brown explained to a group of new recruits. "They think we'll try to copy their crystal tech because it's more advanced. But we're doing something they never expected. We're finding our own paths." In orbit, Earth's defensive network grew stronger each day. But unlike the aliens' uniform crystal ships, each human satellite was slightly different. Some used quantum shielding, others employed electromagnetic disruption fields, and some relied on good old-fashioned physical armor enhanced with new materials. The aliens' attempts to breach these defenses became increasingly frustrated. Their weapons, designed to overcome crystal-based shields, struggled against Earth's mixed defensive systems. It was like trying to pick a lock only to find that each tumbler worked on a completely different principle. "They're adapting," Walker noted during a strategy meeting. "But they're trying to adapt using only crystal technology. They can't understand why we don't do the same." The breakthrough came when a young engineer named Tom Wilson had what seemed like a crazy idea. Instead of trying to match the aliens' advanced technology, he suggested using Earth's primitive systems in ways the aliens would never expect. "Their crystals are perfect," Wilson explained, showing Walker his designs. "But perfect doesn't always mean better. Our systems are messy, flexible, adaptable. We can change tactics mid-battle. They can't." The first test of Wilson's theory came when the aliens launched a probe toward Earth. Instead of trying to destroy it with advanced weapons, Earth's defense systems hit it with a combination of old and new technology. Electromagnetic pulses mixed with quantum field disruptions and simple kinetic impacts. The probe's perfect crystal systems couldn't handle the chaotic mix of attacks. It shut down completely, giving Earth's scientists their first intact piece of alien technology to study. Dr. Miller's team made another surprising discovery while studying the probe. "The aliens' crystal tech is incredibly advanced," she reported to Walker. "But it's also incredibly rigid. They've optimized it so much that it can't handle unexpected situations. Our primitive technology is actually more advanced in some ways because it can adapt." The Alien Council's next message showed their growing frustration. "Your species defies logical technological progression. Your development is chaotic, unpredictable. This cannot be allowed. Walker's response was simple. That chaos is exactly why we'll succeed. Earth's scientists continued to push boundaries in ways that bewildered the aliens. When the aliens expected them to develop better energy weapons, they instead created new defensive systems. When the aliens prepared for improved shields, humans developed ways to simply avoid their attacks altogether. The testing ground for these new technologies was the rebuilt Mars colony. This time, instead of a single dome with crystal-inspired technology, humans built a network of different habitats, each protected by different systems. The aliens couldn't destroy them all because each one required a different type of attack. "They're starting to fear us," Dr. Miller said, showing Walker the latest intercepted communications. "Not because we're stronger, but because they can't predict what we'll do next." This unpredictability proved to be humanity's greatest asset. While the Alien Council debated how to deal with this chaos, humans continued to innovate. They developed AI systems that could switch between different technological approaches mid-battle, created hybrid systems that combine multiple technologies in ways the alien sensors couldn't understand, and built defenses that seemed to break the very rules the aliens had followed for millennia. Walker stood in the observation dome of the new lunar base, watching Earth rise over the horizon. The alien ships were still visible in orbit, but they no longer seemed as threatening. Every day, humanity grew stronger not by following the aliens' path, but by forging its own. "They wanted us to be predictable," he said to Dr. Miller, who had joined him at the window. "They wanted us to develop like they did, to follow their rules. But humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to find new ways, to think differently." The aliens had made a crucial mistake in their assessment of humanity. They saw human technology as primitive because it didn't follow their path. They never considered that humans might find entirely new paths, ones that led to possibilities they had never imagined. As Earth's defense network expanded and the Mars colony grew stronger, the Alien Council faced a reality they had never encountered before. A species that refused to be contained by their rules, that thrived on the very chaos they feared. The human advantage wasn't in having better technology, but in having different technology, in thinking in ways the aliens couldn't predict or understand. The stars still waited, and humanity was proving that there was more than one path to reaching them. Operation Phoenix began at dawn. Across Earth, Mars, and the Moon, humanity launched its first coordinated offensive against the alien fleet. But this was no ordinary attack. It was a demonstration of everything that made humans different from their adversaries. Captain Walker stood in the Global Command Center, watching as hundreds of screens showed different parts of the operation unfolding. Unlike the aliens' unified crystal technology, each part of the human assault used different approaches. The aliens couldn't counter them all at once. "First wave launching now," announced the flight controller. From Earth's surface, thousands of small drones took off. Each one was built differently, some using traditional propulsion, others using new quantum drives, and some powered by technologies the aliens had never seen before. The alien ships responded exactly as expected, their crystal-based weapons firing in perfect, predictable patterns. But the drones didn't try to defend themselves in any way the aliens could understand. Some simply absorbed the energy attacks, others reflected them, and some seemed to disappear and reappear elsewhere. "They're confused," Dr. Miller reported, monitoring the alien communications. "Their sensors can't make sense of what we're doing. Each drone requires a different response, and their systems aren't built for that kind of adaptation." The second phase of Operation Phoenix began from the Mars colony. Instead of direct attacks, the colonists activated what they called chaos fields, areas where multiple technologies interfered with each other in ways that the aliens' perfect crystal systems couldn't process. "Look at their ships," Professor Brown pointed to the main screen. The alien vessels were moving erratically, their normally perfect formations breaking apart as they tried to deal with too many different types of threats at once. Walker smiled as the third phase began. This was the real test, the part that would show the aliens just how different human thinking could be. From the lunar base, Earth's new AI systems launched their digital assault. Unlike the aliens' crystal-based computers, human AIs had been developed along dozens of different paths, creating a type of digital chaos that the aliens had never encountered. Their networks are failing, Tom Wilson reported from his station. They can't adapt fast enough. Their systems are too perfect, too rigid. Our primitive AIs are running circles around them because they can think in ways the aliens never programmed for. The Alien Council's response came quickly, but it showed their growing desperation. This attack violates all known protocols of warfare. Your methods are irrational. Your strategies defy standardized combat procedures. Walker's reply was broadcast on all frequencies. That's the point. As the operation continued, the true scope of humanity's plan became clear. This wasn't just an attack, it was a message. Every drone, every chaos field, every AI assault showed the aliens a different aspect of human innovation. Their crystal technology, for all its advancement, couldn't handle the sheer variety of human approaches. In orbit, the alien ships began to retreat, moving away from Earth's sphere of influence. Their perfect formations were now broken, their coordinated responses shattered by the unpredictability of human tactics. "They're falling back," Dr. Miller announced, her voice filled with excitement. "But look at this, some of their ships are responding differently. They're trying to adapt, to think like we do." Walker watched as a few alien vessels broke from their standard patterns, attempting to match the chaos of human attacks. These ships, he realized, were commanded by younger aliens, ones who hadn't spent centuries locked into crystal technology thinking. "Send a targeted message to those ships," he ordered. "Tell them we notice their adaptation, their willingness to think differently. Invite them to talk." The response came from a single alien ship, its crystal systems attempting to communicate in ways that mimicked human methods. "Your species breaks all known rules of technological advancement. But perhaps rules were meant to be broken." The operation continued for hours, but it wasn't about destroying the alien fleet. It was about showing them something they had forgotten. That progress didn't have to follow a single path. That strength could come from chaos as much as order. In the aftermath, Walker walked through the command center, watching as teams analyzed the results. Earth had lost some drones, some systems had failed, but that too was part of the message. Humans weren't afraid to fail, to try new things, to learn from mistakes. "The Alien Council is in chaos," Dr. Miller reported, showing him the latest intercepted communications. "Some want to retreat completely. Others want to learn from us. They've never faced a species that made them question their own development." The younger aliens proved to be the most interesting response to Operation Phoenix. Their ships remained at the edge of the solar system, not as a threat, but as observers. They began sending messages full of questions, trying to understand how humans could develop technology in so many different ways at once. Professor Brown's team started documenting everything for these curious aliens. "We're not just showing them our technology," he explained to Walker. "We're showing them there's more than one way to advance, to grow, to reach the stars." Walker stood at the window of his office, watching the sunset. Operation Phoenix had changed everything. The aliens who had tried to stop humanity's rise had instead become witnesses to why humans couldn't be stopped. It wasn't superior technology or military might that made humans unstoppable. It was their ability to think differently, to try new paths, to thrive in chaos. "Send a final message to all alien ships," he ordered. "Tell them, this is humanity. We don't follow paths, we make them. We don't accept limits, we break them. We don't fear the unknown, we explore it. You can either join us in finding new ways forward, or watch as we discover them without you." As night fell over Earth, the stars seemed different. They were no longer just distant lights. They were possibilities, waiting to be reached in ways that even the aliens had never imagined. Humanity had proven that being unpredictable, being chaotic, being different wasn't a weakness. It was the very thing that made them unstoppable. The message arrived 3 days after Operation Phoenix. It didn't come from the Alien Council, but from a group calling themselves the Free Systems Alliance. They were the younger species of the galaxy, those who had also felt stifled by the Empire's rigid control of technology. Captain Walker sat in the new diplomatic chamber, built specifically for this moment. Around him, screens showed representatives from 20 different alien worlds, each one reaching out to Earth in secret. Their crystal communicators had been modified, altered in ways that broke with thousands of years of tradition. "We watched what you did," said the representative from a world called Blue Haven. Their hologram flickered with imperfections that would have horrified the Empire. "You showed us that we don't have to follow their path, that there are other ways to grow." Dr. Miller stood beside Walker, translating and analyzing each transmission. "They're all younger species," she explained. "Civilizations that achieved spaceflight in the last few thousand years. The Empire's crystal technology was forced on them before they could develop their own methods. The alien from Starbridge, a colony world on the edge of Empire space, spoke next. Our scientists have already begun experimenting with your methods. Combining technologies, trying new approaches. The Empire calls it chaos. We call it freedom." Walker understood what was happening. Operation Phoenix hadn't just demonstrated Earth's strength, it had lit a spark across the galaxy. Species that had been forced to follow the Empire's rigid technological path were seeing another way forward. "Tell us more about these chaos fields," requested the representative from New Dawn Colony. "Our crystal systems couldn't understand them. But that's exactly why we're interested. We want to learn how to think differently." Professor Brown's team had prepared for this. They shared data about human technological development, not as a single path, but as a network of possibilities. They showed how different approaches could work together, how apparent weaknesses could become strengths. The Empire's response to these secret meetings was predictable. They declared all contact with Earth forbidden, threatened to punish any species that defied them. But their threats had lost their power. Too many had seen what happened when someone stood up to their crystal-based superiority. "They're splitting apart," Dr. Miller reported, showing Walker the latest intelligence. "The Empire's council is divided. The older members want to crush this rebellion completely. But the younger ones, they're fascinated by human adaptability." Walker met with Earth's leadership to discuss this new development. Humanity had gained allies not through force or superior technology, but by showing there were different ways to advance. The rigid Empire was facing something it had never encountered: an alliance built on diversity rather than uniformity. "We received this from the Nexus worlds," Dr. Miller said, displaying a new message. The Nexus worlds were the Empire's own colonies, places where their crystal technology had originated. Their younger scientists are questioning everything. They're asking why they never tried other paths. The Empire's monopoly on technological advancement was crumbling. Species that had been dependent on crystal tech for millennia were discovering their own paths, inspired by Earth's example. Some combined human methods with crystal technology, creating hybrid systems that worked in ways neither humanity nor the Empire had imagined. Walker worked tirelessly, meeting with representatives from more worlds each day. These weren't just diplomatic meetings. They were exchanges of ideas, sharing of different approaches, celebrations of technological diversity. "Look at this," Professor Brown said excitedly, showing Walker a transmission from one of the younger worlds. They had taken human AI concepts and combined them with crystal tech in ways that shouldn't have worked, but did. They're not just copying us. They're finding their own ways to break free. The Empire made one last attempt to maintain control. They threatened to cut off crystal technology supplies to any world that collaborated with Earth. But humanity had already shown that dependency on a single technology was a weakness, not a strength. "Let them keep their crystals," Walker told the Alliance representatives. "We'll help you develop your own technologies, find your own paths. The stars are too vast for just one way of reaching them." The diplomatic chamber became a symbol of this new approach. Representatives from different worlds shared their discoveries, their failures, their unique ways of solving problems. The Empire had sought uniformity. Earth fostered diversity. Dr. Miller's team documented hundreds of new technological approaches being developed across the Alliance. Some worlds combined biological computing with crystal tech. Others developed entirely new forms of quantum manipulation. Each species found its own way forward, adding to the galaxy's technological diversity. The Empire doesn't understand what's happening, one of the younger council members told Walker in a private transmission. They think this is about technology. It's not. It's about freedom. Freedom to think differently, to try new things, to fail and learn and grow. Walker stood in the observation dome of the International Space Station, watching Earth rotate below. Around him, screens showed transmissions from dozens of worlds, each one finding its own path to the stars. Humanity hadn't just broken free from the Empire's restrictions. They had shown the galaxy that restrictions themselves were the greatest barrier to progress. Send a message to all our allies, he told Dr. Miller. Tell them, the Empire tried to stop humanity because we were unpredictable. They were right. We are unpredictable. And now, together, we're all unpredictable. That's not our weakness. That's our strength. As the message went out, Walker reflected on how far they had come. The Empire had wanted to confine humanity to Earth, to stop their chaotic rise to the stars. Instead, they had sparked a revolution, not of weapons or warfare, but of ideas and innovation. The stars had never seemed brighter. Each one represented not just a destination, but a possibility, a chance for some species to find its own unique way forward. The Empire's crystal technology would remain, but it would be just one path among many in a galaxy learning to celebrate diversity rather than fear it. The great crystal spires of the Imperial Palace no longer seemed as impressive as they once did. Captain Walker stood before the Empire's High Council, not as a primitive being to be judged, but as the representative of a force that had changed the galaxy forever. Around him, the council chamber showed signs of change. Alongside the traditional crystal technology, new hybrid systems blinked and hummed. Some council members used human-inspired interfaces, while others stuck to their ancient methods. The very diversity of technology in the room showed how much had changed. The old order is ending, announced the head counselor, their crystalline form shimmering in the artificial light. We cannot deny what has happened. Your species has shown us that our path, though advanced, was also a prison of our own making. Dr. Miller stood beside Walker, no longer needing to translate. The humans and aliens had developed new ways to communicate, breaking free from the limitations of crystal-based universal translators. Each species now spoke in its own way, and somehow, that made understanding easier. For 10,000 years, the head counselor continued, we believe that order came from unity, that progress meant following a single path. We were wrong. The galaxy is changing, and we must change with it. The evidence was impossible to ignore. In the months since the formation of the Free Systems Alliance, technological advancement had accelerated across the galaxy. Species that had been stuck for millennia suddenly broke through barriers, each finding their own unique solutions. Professor Brown presented the council with data from 100 different worlds. Some had combined crystal tech with biological computing. Others had developed entirely new forms of quantum manipulation, and still others had found paths that nobody had imagined possible. Look at these advancement rates, he explained, showing graphs that curve sharply upward. When species are free to develop in their own ways, they don't just grow, they flourish. The diversity creates strength. The Empire's crystal technology monopoly had crumbled completely. Yet instead of causing chaos as they had feared, it had led to a renaissance. Trade routes now carried not just goods but ideas, each species sharing their unique approaches while developing their own. We've received another breakthrough report, Dr. Miller whispered to Walker, showing him a message from one of the younger worlds. They had found a way to use crystal technology as a biological enhancement, something the Empire had always considered impossible. but they had never tried because they never thought differently. The council chamber's mood shifted as reports came in from across the galaxy. The Free Systems Alliance had grown from 20 worlds to hundreds. Even some of the oldest Empire worlds had joined, their younger generations eager to explore new possibilities. "The question before us is simple," the head counselor said. "Do we continue to resist this change, or do we embrace it? Do we learn from humanity's example and accept that there are many paths to the stars?" Walker stepped forward. This was the moment everything had led to. "We didn't come here to destroy your way," he said. "We came to show that there could be other ways. Your crystal technology isn't wrong. It's just one path among many. The galaxy is big enough for all of them." The council's vote was unanimous, something that hadn't happened in thousands of years. The Empire would transform. The Galactic Council would become a true democracy, where all species could follow their own paths while working together. Tom Wilson, who had helped design some of Earth's most chaotic and effective systems, sat at a new console installed in the council chamber. It combined Earth's unpredictable AI with crystal technology in ways that would have been considered heretical just months ago. "The new network is online," he announced. "Every world in the Alliance can now share their discoveries, their methods, their unique approaches, but they can do it their way, using their own technology." Walker watched as the first transmissions came through the new network. Each species communicated differently, some using crystal tech, others using quantum signals, some using methods humans barely understood. The chaos of it would have horrified the old Empire. Now it was seen as beautiful. "We're receiving a message from the Edgeworlds," Dr. Miller said. The Edgeworlds were the farthest colonies, places that had always struggled under the Empire's rigid control. Now they were leading the way in technological innovation, combining methods from a dozen different species. The message was simple: we see the stars differently now. They're not just places to reach, they're possibilities to explore. Thank you, Earth, for showing us that the path to the future doesn't have to be straight. Walker stood at one of the crystal windows, looking out at the Empire's capital world. The city below was changing, its perfect crystal patterns now interrupted by new forms of architecture, new types of technology, new ways of thinking. It was chaotic, unpredictable, alive. "The final trade restrictions have been lifted," Professor Brown reported. "Every world is free to develop its own technology, to find its own way forward. The Empire's crystal technology will remain, but as one tool among many, not the only path." In the end, the Empire had tried to stop humanity because they were unpredictable, because they didn't follow the established path. But that very unpredictability had saved not just humanity, but the galaxy itself from stagnation. The stars shone brightly outside the council chamber. Each one now represented not just a destination, but a possibility, a chance for some species to find its own unique way forward. The galaxy had learned that strength didn't come from everyone following the same path, but from each finding their own way to the stars. As Walker prepared to return to Earth, he looked one last time at the council chamber, now a symbol of the new age. "Send a final message to all worlds," he told Dr. Miller. "Tell them, the stars are waiting. How you reach them is up to you." The human spirit that the Empire had tried to contain had instead transformed the galaxy. The rise of humankind couldn't be stopped because it wasn't just about one species reaching the stars. It was about showing every species that they could reach them in their own way.